listening to Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
two certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only two best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
Greetings from a... Oh, God. Where do we even begin? So I have COVID.
Yeah, Rachel. And I would have everyone know, even though the timing seems suspicious, she did not get it from me. I had it first. I did see her, but I was fine by then. And then
I didn't get sick for like another 9 days after I saw you. So, and I went
to
New York.
No one blame
me. And I definitely got sick in the airport or something.
Sure, I'm sure.
No regrets. I saw Hamilton.
You were around a lot of humans.
Went to a drag show. That was fabulous. My first drag
videos
show.
You sent me were phenomenal.
So good. So good. I think my favorite was that Ursula one I sent you where she sang Poor Unfortunate Souls, but I couldn't get like the part where it transitioned to Rihanna's Bitch Better Have My Money. And that was probably one of our favorites. So anyway, it was a great time. And then I brought back COVID. And now I'm back at my parents' house. I gave my mom COVID.
She's doing okay from
my dad
what you
was
said.
like, she's okay. My dad doesn't have it, knock on wood. But he did say, because, he doesn't like when anyone's sick around him because he doesn't want to get sick. I'm like, I get it. But like, I'm sorry, you guys watch my nephew every week. Like, how come
brings home
and he literally just had
all
COVID
the germs
and didn't give it to you, but now I brought it home. I'm like, that's not right. Like, he's like a toddler. He's nasty,
Oh,
I
they
get
bring
sick,
home
like never, and I never bring home anything. Anyway, all I said was, I told him, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, my condo flooded, and that I now have to live with you, and I can't have COVID on my own in peace. Like, I should be able to
have COVID in peace.
And he was like, I'm sorry about that too. So anyway,
oh man.
So I'm in my bedroom at my parents' house right now. Kristen's in her closet. We're not together. And maybe the audio will be better because the man cave audio was shit, and we'll have to experiment next time with different audio. My parents are supposed to have an oven delivered right now. The dog was barking a second ago. The phone rings. They have a landline still. And sometimes you're going to hear that. I'm like, this is reality of where we're at right now. So just like running on full cylinder.
And now there's a chance of 3 different dogs barking in the background because I'm home with mine. So it is what it is. We're going to power through.
Anyway, so that's that. I have had COVID. I'm like 80% fine. I'm pretty sure it was Omicron because it was so mild. I did lose my taste and smell, which is not common.
And it hasn't come back
with Omicron. Not really. I mean, I can it's like 20% max, probably.
Mine may be cut down to half. It was just muted for a couple of days and then it came back.
I'm like, this is food. It's like kind of salty, I guess, like
when my brother got COVID and he lost his sense of smell and taste, he was like, why don't I just eat a bunch of salad and vegetables? Because who cares? I can't taste it anyway. I might as well get really healthy for a few days. So there you go.
Anyway, so I'm on the mend, but that's why Kristen's not here right now, even though I don't think she would get it anyway. But we're just keeping her out of the equation.
Overly cautious.
Okay.
Well, before we have Dear Krachel questions, like usual. But before that, we should remind you that today is the last day of our coaching enrollment. So it's been going on for 2 weeks, 2 solid weeks. Today is the last day. So if you're listening to this after today and you go try to sign up, you will receive our waitlist form instead, which is fine. You can still reach out and see
you can put your name
when
on the
we're
waitlist.
available. That's fine. But just know that this is the last day where we're officially taking on new people.
Mm-hmm.
So if now it's feeling like a good time, which I keep hearing from people who will come back saying, I need something to be different this year. And this feels like my energy is kind of ramping back up. I feel like the early January energy this year was low key for everyone I was talking to. It was like a slow ramp up was the feeling I was getting. But now that we're kind of moving out of January, I'm feeling people's momentum picking up. Maybe that's just my sphere of people, but
it's February.
It's February. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like we're a little delayed this year energetically, but we're coming back.
A lot can change in a short period of time. Mm-hmm. That's why we do coaching. It's because I'm tired of things being the freaking same. And I have done enough to know that unless something significant changes and I'm held accountable, it's not going to change. I'm just going to keep getting the same results over and over again, very reliably so. And change happens really quickly when you have someone holding you accountable. Like that's why coaching works. It's because it's not only someone helping you figure out like how to get out of your own way and in what order to think about all of the things that are currently plaguing you and what matters and what doesn't matter, but like also because then you have someone making you actually apply what you're learning, and not just learning, but like what you're processing and integrating and actually making change in the real world, not just thinking about it. Do you know how many clients I have? And like, I guess I would count myself among this number, who think that like, if they think about something hard enough, that counts as taking action. And I'm like,
your brain will easily get tricked by that. You have to watch out for that because thinking about things feels productive to your brain, but then nothing happens. Nothing actually changes. So that accountability piece is really critical. I'm remembering back when I hired my first coach, before I even knew I wanted to be a coach or anything, I remember feeling so stuck for so long. You remember how I was at that job back then. I hated everything. I had no energy. I was so confused what to do. I hired my first coach ever. Didn't know where I was going to get the money. I just was like, I need this help. And I want to say it was 2 or 3 sessions in, I was taking action. I was making moves. I was totally in a new headspace. And then by the end of that, I was enrolled in coach training. We were building a business. I mean, everything changed in a matter of months when I just had that external perspective, somebody to make sense of my own thoughts for me and hold me accountable. That's a big reason why I fell so in love with it. Is my own experience was just as powerful as I now see in my client's experience. So we've been there. We know the stuckness and we know the clarity that you can get on both sides, being a client and now being a coach for a decade.
So long. And it's just like, we always get a bunch of I mean, not always, but we always get a couple of people who ask very understandable, but like anxiety-induced questions at the beginning of coaching. And like, they think that they're going to be the one person for whom it doesn't apply. And I'm like, you're not that special. Like, we've been doing this for a decade. I know for a fact that you're not like exempt from being human. So this isn't not gonna like, what if it doesn't work for me? Oh my God. Like, I know if you're having that question, it's just like, I'm human. Check the box. It's like, it's a symptom of being human is doubt and fear and uncertainty or whatever. So anyway,
there's nothing in that question that actually means there's any reality of the fact that you're so unique. Because again, if everyone's asking it and then everyone we work with goes through a pretty huge transformation and gets a lot of clarity and direction on the other side, then you're right in the right spot is what I would say.
All right. So today is the last day that we're, actively taking sign up forms. Like if you've been nervous, that's fine. That's also a symptom of being human. Having feelings, nerves means that like you understand the significance of doing something that might require a lot of energy and effort and change is scary. But that's also not a reason not to do something. Like there's a difference between real fear and just sort of like I'm about to go over the edge of a roller coaster and I'm nervous, but I think this is going to take me on a ride that I need to go on. That's a normal sensation, but I wouldn't mistake that for fear of, as like a warning not to do something. Know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking. Okay. So
we won't get into all the details here.
No,
there's a link in the episode description.
How it works. You can ask a lot of the details. Questions.
Yeah. And a lot of them are on the page on our website. So go read that first and you'll hear a little bit more about pricing and time commitment and what the process you'll go through. So all of those details you can read about. And if you have any questions, that's why we talk to you first. That's why you can't just sign up and pay on our website. We want to make sure it's the right fit. So again, you don't have to be 100% certain, I am definitely signing up for this, but we want you to be serious enough and have given it enough thought and read through that page on our site and feel pretty ready for this, but maybe there's a few lingering questions. In that situation, we would love to talk to you and just make sure one way or the other.
I've literally never had someone be like, I regret doing this. Goodbye.
Never.
Like literally never. Again, 10 years.
I think I'm actually thinking back because I know we get this question. Can I, what if it doesn't work and I want to get my money back or whatever? I've had that happen one time in 10 years. And here's why. Pretty quickly, we realized she needed a business coach, a marketing coach. And so she went and got that instead. That was it. That's the one time that's ever happened to me. I don't know if you've ever had one.
Because like you actually helped her realize that's what she needed. So she did get something out of working with you.
And then she invested in what she needed. It worked. Right. It was fine. Right. So again, I really, really highly doubt that you're going to be the one person in 10 years who's like, this is terrible and I hate it and it's not working for me. And I just don't think the odds are in your favor.
Sorry, they are not. All right. So the form is in the show notes. One of us would be happy to chat with you and make sure it's a good fit because we don't want to work with you unless you really want to work with us. That's how this goes. And again, if you hear this episode after the 4th, that's okay. There's always a wait list form up. And depending on what time of year it is, we may be able to talk to you sooner, or it might be a minute, but like, we'll let you know either way what our status is. So you can always put your name on that form and we'll tell you what our situation is.
Okay. So that's it. That's your final reminder. Last day. And again, if you're hearing this later, just reach out and we'll tell you where we're at. So as usual, we have 3 Dear Krachel questions. 2 are longer. 1 is short in terms of the actual questions, but I think all have some meaty answers.
Or you're going to read the longer ones because I might have problems reading too much.
I'm sick.
Actually, don't have a cough though. So.
Mean Girls reference.
Oh my God. No one needs to know where it's from. First of all, you just broke the cardinal rule of humor, which is you don't explain the joke.
Well, we might have some people who we were the 90s kids. We were the 90s kids. Not everyone was a 90s kid.
I don't need to, that's their problem if they don't understand a Mean Girls reference. Okay? We don't
if you haven't watched Mean Girls,
people.
That is your homework for this weekend. You will not regret it.
Okay. Go ahead and read the first question, please.
Question 1. Hi, Krachel. My business partner and I are complete opposites, which I think is a great thing most of the time. But recently, I've been struggling with his inability to see things that are right in front of him. I feel like I've provided all the evidence I can and have encouraged him to do his own research, but he just doesn't see why I'm so upset about something with our business. he doesn't feel personally affected by it and therefore doesn't seem to care enough to try to change it. But I literally cry over it every week. How can I help him see that I'm not just being emotional and that we need to agree to work on this together because before it causes more divide? That is from Holly.
Okay, I have a lot of feelings about this and answers, but I have feelings first. Holly is falling into this trap that a lot of women trying to communicate with a man fall into, which is like you're inadvertently being forced to play by the masculine rules of engagement, which are like, well, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Where's the statistics? Where are the numbers? And you're being emotional. And like, first of all, Holly,
well, and
what the fuck wrong
Holly,
is being emotional?
I want to say, you're playing into that. It doesn't have to be that way. He's not making it be that way. Like, you're playing into that by saying, how do I not be emotional? How do I show all the statistics?
Right. But like, can you feel the internalized misogyny of this? Like, she has internalized the idea that like, it's not okay to have feelings about something, and that the right way to go about discussing something is rationally and logically and with numbers and metrics. And unless you can do that, it doesn't count and it doesn't matter. So I would say stop playing this game, because this game isn't working for you, and you're never going to win if you allow these to be the rules of engagement for how you converse with someone. Right now, you're trying to have a conversation about the surface level problem, which is like whatever is going wrong in business. I'm going to make something up completely for the purposes of this, this example. And because my parents are expecting a new oven, actually, I just saw my dad wheel it down the driveway and the dog was trotting after him. She's living her best life here, everyone. Let's say that you're a baker and you're crying every week because the ovens are bad and you need new ovens, but you can't convince your business partner that,
who's on the finance side, who's looking for how do we save the most money?
Right. You can't
make the most profit.
Right. You can't convince him that new ovens are worthwhile. And so you are crying every week into the fire like Cinderella, baking your rolls, and you are like, I need a new oven and no one understands me. Okay. So if you then make him a PowerPoint presentation about ovens and he doesn't give a shit, you are doing yourself a disservice, because this isn't about ovens. What's actually the problem between you and him is that you care about something and he's not willing to give you the time of day. So what the real approach should be is not, let's talk about ovens, but let's talk about our relationship. Because and this very much aligns with, I know we've referenced Allison Armstrong on here before, but with her work about understanding communication between men and women, because our motivations and our thought processes are different often. And again, always exceptions. I don't want to put anybody in boxes, but the way that we communicate is often different, and that causes a lot of challenges. And if you read any of her work, any of her books, she will say men's motivations often are to help the people that they care about, not necessarily just to solve whatever problem. So if you make it about the problem, if you say, I need new ovens, and I'm going to tell you all the stats about all the ovens that I need and the pricing, and he's like, I don't think we need new ovens, you're at odds. You've made it about this thing. To be honest, it doesn't matter if he cares about the ovens. What matters is for you to say, here's what I need, and here's how I need you to help me so that our business can thrive and we can both be in partnership and be a team right here. That's going to be much more motivating to him, or it should be for a good business partner who wants to collaborate and who wants to have a solid working relationship. That is more motivating than the logistics of the problem. Yeah. He should care less about ovens and more about the fact that there is something that's causing you this much distress on a weekly basis. And that is what needs to be solved.
And you don't have to ever convince him about the ovens or about the problem.
No.
You're allowed to see that differently. It's okay. You're in business with someone who is very different from you. And you said there's a lot of great parts of being so different, but it also means you're not always going to see things the same way. And the point is not to convince him to see things your way. The point is to say, I am struggling and I need help. And as a business partner, we need to work together on this so that we can both thrive.
Right. Because
that's the problem.
Because, right, as long as it remains about the ovens, then, and I don't know what the fuck we're actually talking about, but I like that we're just calling it ovens. As long as the problem remains about the ovens, your feelings don't get to exist. Like, if it's about the ovens and he's like, but we don't need new ovens, you're just being emotional. If the real problem is there is something going on that is causing me problems and is causing me distress, and what he's concerned about is not the thing, but how do we have a good relationship and how do we work together in a way that's productive and where both people feel like they're getting their needs met, then your needs and your emotions get to be front and center.
It gets to be about your emotions. The fact that you are emotional about it is the point.
That's the point.
You
the point is that I have a problem. You don't have to agree with the problem. But you do need to acknowledge the fact that like I have a problem, and you can't have a relationship, a healthy relationship where one person is insisting they have a problem and one person is ignoring it and insisting it doesn't exist, and have a good relationship. The other person has to be like, well, I don't necessarily understand why you think this is a problem, but I'm willing to hear you out, and I'm willing to listen to you talk about how you feel, so that we can try to figure out how do we not necessarily solve the oven problem, but how do we get you to feel better?
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. Okay. Talk about the fact that you have the problem is that you have a problem. The problem is not the ovens.
Yes. Like you said, the point here, the purpose here is you don't want this to cause more divide. You want to work together to avoid creating a bigger divide here. That's what you need to start with. I don't want us to be in division. I want us to be in partnership.
Yeah.
And this is causing a divide. So how do we find a solution so that we don't keep moving in opposite directions? We keep moving together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the framing of the conversation. And I would also, if you can, I would try to be specific about what you need from him. Do you just need to talk it out and brainstorm solutions? Do you need him to take some specific action? What do you need in order to get to a solution so that you can communicate that? Because if you just say, I have a problem, and he says, well, I don't really get the problem. Well, I have now you're talking in circles. Now he doesn't know what to do. You don't really know what you need. I would take a moment before you reapproach this and get as specific as you can with your asks for him. And so if you frame it this way and then say, and here's what I need from you, he's going to be much more likely to say, oh, okay, well, I don't really get it, but I can give that to you. And that makes sense to me. I don't want us to be divided. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling that conversation will go very differently.
Yeah.
This is one I would love an update on.
Because you're not asking him what the ask will be. I'm not asking you to invest in new ovens. I'm asking you to invest in my emotional well-being. And he might think the cost of new ovens is worth your emotional well-being. But if he doesn't understand that ovens and your emotional well-being are equivalent, then you're not going to get new ovens. Know what I mean? Because to him, the oven is just an oven. And to you, the oven is your emotional well-being. If you can make him understand that that's what we're talking about here, all of a sudden that might be worth more money. See what I'm saying?
Yes. And if not, we've got a bigger problem to deal with, and we'll deal with that.
Should we be in business with someone like that? Well, that's a whole nother question. If they can't acknowledge your emotional needs, right? But
we're assuming that this is a generally positive partnership, and this is just a miscommunication and a misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, this will get things back on track. Very common one. Very common
between men and women, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, oh, we're just talking about this thing, right? And whether this thing is logically worth it. No, we're talking about my emotional well-being that's tied up in this thing. What? That's going to be news to this man. I tell you that.
Yes. But helpful news. You need to connect those dots for him because that's not how his brain works. I would also, if you're in business with a man who obviously has a lot of masculine energy, just from the way you're talking about this, I would recommend reading some of Alison Armstrong's work just to try to figure out how do we communicate
on Audible.
That's true. She's got great books
Understanding
on
Women or Understanding Men or something like that, or both. I think she has both.
Yep. So that might be helpful as you're trying to figure out how do I communicate with someone whose brain is a little bit different than my brain, who processes things a little bit differently. So please let us know. This is again, like I said, this is one I would love an update on how that conversation goes.
Okay. Number 2, Dear Krachel, do you have any advice for someone waiting for another person, a possible romantic partner, who says that they need some time to love themselves before they can love you? Stacy.
We'll have a very short answer, and then I'm sure, as always, we will expand on it. The short answer is you don't wait for that person.
Yep. Done.
Period.
On to the next question. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we don't wait, Stacy. We don't wait. Because as we've said many a time, as I said in my bonus episode of Forever Alone, if you haven't checked that out, you're not going to miss your bus. It's your bus. So if this person is the right person for you and they're going off to do some very necessary internal work, great, good for them. You don't need to sit around twiddling your thumbs, making, oh wait, I have to be right here or else he's not going to know, or she's not going to know where to find me when they come back. No, they got your number. Probably they follow you on Instagram, they can hire a private detective if they really want to find you. Don't be afraid of someone losing. Like, if you're afraid that someone isn't going to come back, then they weren't the right person for you. And you know what I mean? Like, if they don't come back, they weren't right for you. Like that's it. That's it.
Yep. Here's what happens when you wait for someone to do their work. First of all, you start to get impatient. And you want to rush that because now you're questioning, now you're feeling anxious, now you're feeling impatient. You also put pressure on the other person. All right, come on, get on with it. I'm waiting for you over here. When someone's waiting on you, there's this pressure and this urgency that gets put on a process that should not be rushed.
That can create resentment.
For both of you.
Right.
For both of you in the end.
Yes.
So when you acknowledge, I love that you're doing that. I want you to love yourself. If I care about you, I want you to be someone who has a lot of self-love and a lot of self-worth. So do that work. Go do that work. And maybe, to be honest, part of me wonders, do you need to do some work, right? If there's this time and not because you're waiting, not like, oh, I'll just pass the time, but if I want the kind of relationship with someone who already is self-loving, how self-loving am I?
Yeah.
So if this other person is seeking more self-love and this is someone that you love, right, then all I'm wondering is there room for your own growth in this area? Often the things that we see in other people that we recognize as challenges, sometimes that means we're paying attention because it's our cue that we need some of that work too.
To quote Taylor Swift from her song Renegade, is it insensitive for me to say, get your shit together so I can love you? Is it really your anxiety that stops you from giving me everything, or do you just not want to?
Whew.
Taylor,
she always says it best.
Always got it. Yeah. So on that note, I will say, I don't want to be this person, but I am this person. So we're just going to lean in. That's also a bullshit line people serve other people sometimes when they just aren't that into you. Like, I just need some time to love myself first. Like, okay. Either way, whether they genuinely mean it and it's heartfelt, great. Or it's complete bullshit and they're going to be dating someone else in 2 weeks because they just don't like you that much and they don't know how to tell you that they're not that into you. The answer is the same. We don't wait on that person. Mm-hmm. We trust that the right person is going to is going to be obvious and the timing is going to be right. There is no such thing as right person, wrong time. If you meet the right person, it's at the wrong time. They're not the right person yet. They might,
but they might be later.
Which
is why the timing matters, right? So
they'll come back.
The right person will find you in the right time. If the right person finds you in the wrong time, don't worry, they'll be back or you'll be back.
Yeah. And if you try to interfere with the workings of time, you're going to get bit in the ass. Just know this, Stacy. If you try to like rush that person, if you try to control the outcome of this in some way, you're probably going to end up regretting it because that person's not actually going to be ready. And what's going to happen is that you're going to wonder if you can actually trust them. The beautiful thing about not waiting on someone and just living your damn life is that if someone comes back, you know, it was 100% because they wanted to and because they were ready and because they did their work. You know, like, oh my God, I'm thinking of, she's going to laugh so hard that I shared this on the podcast, but I'm sure she'll love it. One of my friends, she's told me this story multiple times about her mom and dad and how her dad was kind of being a flake when they were first dating. And they were like in their early 20s. This was the 70s. And her mom was like, I think at home taking care of one of her parents who was sick at the time. And her dad was like giving her the runaround and he had disappeared. And then he came back and he called her and he was like trying to make amends. And he was like, take me back. And she hung up on him. And she was just like, no, you're not serious. Like, call me when you've got your shit together because I don't have time for this nonsense. And, you know, eventually, like, he did come back serious and then they ended up married, right? Like, this happens all the time. People, and like, people will respect you more if you don't sit around waiting for them to get their shit together. Like,
in this scenario, waiting for this person would just be out of a fear of losing them.
Yeah.
I'm waiting because I think if I wait, then I'll be around. I'll be waiting in the wings when they come out of this process. They will find you if they want you. People are so good at going after what they want when they really want it. They do not let stupid little things like time or distance or, you know, I'm laughing because that'll be a season 2 story at some point for Forever Alone. But like, they don't let stupid little things get in their way if they're really, really, really seriously into someone. They go off and live your life. You could go off the grid. And if someone really wanted to find you, they absolutely would. So like, especially someone who is on the other side of accepting and loving and respecting themselves and saying, I want to give myself the greatest happiness I want. Oh, wait, that's with that person. So you want them to do this work. And then on the other side of that, they're going to have a lot of clarity about what they want for their life. And if you're part of that, great. And if you're not, then better to have not waited.
So our advice is set the bar high for yourself by not waiting and by basically embodying confidence. Like, real confidence is, I don't need this person in order to be happy. Like, I am more invested in matching with someone who's ultimately right for me and ready for me. And if that's this person, then I'm sure it will work out. And if it's not, then I would rather be with the person who is. And
that's your own self-love and self-worth journey.
Yeah. So I'm going to take my hands off the wheel and I'm going to stop trying to like steer it into this person's direction or whatever. And just, you know, trust that I'm going to be guided to the right outcome and that I don't need to know what that is and I don't need to control it. And if it's supposed to be this person, it will, without my interference.
So you got a very clear, where our answer is not always quite so clean cut. This was a very clear answer. Yeah. Take it or leave it. I mean, you don't ever have to do what we tell you to do, but that's our vehement guidance.
Go ahead and ignore my advice and see what happens on this one. Like, I dare you, but you know, you always have free will.
We want an update either way. But yeah, you got the clear answer and a little bit of why we want this for you. Okay. Last question.
Okay.
Dear Krachel, I'm a thriver/tribe member, and I've been in a job that I don't like for 2 years. It's pretty easy, and it leaves me lots of time to take care of my toddler, but I still feel myself feeling unfulfilled. I thought I'd be doing more impactful work, but a lot of the activities I saw myself doing in this role have been derailed by the pandemic. My boss is nice, but doesn't know the answers to most of my questions. My coworkers don't like me because they have to work in the office and I only have to come in for around 1 hour a week. Plus, I'm in charge of vendors who are constantly making mistakes and promising to do better, but never do. I've mentally tapped out and get irritated by the simplest tasks now. I want to switch careers and have been trying to teach myself new skills, but I'm having a hard time finding distraction-free time and know that if I switch to a different role, odds are I won't be able to give my toddler the attention she wants throughout the day. My partner and even my therapist have told me I have a good thing going and I need to stop caring so much about the work so I feel more content with the situation. Should I try to be happy where I am? If so, how? That's from Alex. That second to last sentence makes me very annoyed. We'll get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, of course your partner's like, hey, you got a good thing going. I don't blame the partner for saying that. Like, it's not their job to know how to give good advice. A therapist should not tell you that. Like, that's bad.
I'm feeling therapy. Unfulfilled. I'm feeling drained. I feel a lack of connection to my work. But you've got a good thing going. But you should just be content.
I just want to tell you right now, in my decade of coaching, I have never done that to someone. Okay. Like, you shouldn't do that to someone. So I'm just telling you.
Because again, ignore Alex, your feelings, ignore how you feel about this. Just be fine with it. Mm.
I mean, I understand where the therapist was probably coming from, which was like, hey, let's like appreciate what this maybe does provide for you. And like, I know I wasn't there. So who knows exactly what went down, but it's definitely not a therapist's job to just tell you, oh, you should try to just be okay with it because you've got a good thing going. Because all that does is tell me that the therapist has bought into your limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. The therapist also is seeing things through a narrow perspective that's just not accurate.
Yep. Okay. So there's multiple things going on here.
Yes.
And I want to touch on there's a really big limiting belief that I think is backing up all of this and making you feel more trapped. First of all, you said you are a thriver/tribe member, but you're in unfulfilling work that doesn't feel as impactful as you thought it would because of the pandemic, and you don't feel connected to anyone there. You feel like they don't like you, whether or not they do or not. That's a whole other conversation, but you feel disconnected.
I'm like, okay, well, I think that might not be as true as she probably thinks it is. I don't know if that's her
everyone
perception.
Doesn't like you. Right. So you don't feel like you have the tribe. You don't feel like you have a mission or an impact that you feel really strongly about. The tribe member part of you is not living their best life in this job, not feeling very seen in this job. Even it sounds on the surface like the thriver part of you might be more fulfilled. I'm even not so sure about that. You're feeling drained. You're not having a lot of fun. There's stressful situations. People say they're going to do things and they don't. There's pressure. It's not even a great fit for your thriver, to be honest.
I mean, the best part about it is just there's time.
It's steady and there's some flexibility. But that's not all the thriver wants. They want to enjoy it. They want good people. They don't want to be pressured and stressed and having to deal with all these stupid problems all the time. So I don't even know if the thriver part of you is that happy, frankly. So just from a passion profile perspective, I already fully understand why this is grating on you and starting to irritate you. All the little things are building up and making you extra annoyed and drained. That all makes sense to me. I don't think you're blowing things out of proportion. I think there's just misalignment with a lot of the aspects of this job and your values and what you need in a workplace. So first of all, everything that you're feeling is valid from what I'm taking away from this. It's all valid. And there's this giant limiting belief that you said maybe toward the end of the question, which was, odds are, if I switch to a different role or a different career, I won't be able to give my toddler the attention that she wants. So essentially, this is the most flexibility I can expect with my time. And if I switch to something else, I'm probably going to lose that. Where did that come from? How true is that? Because I'm telling you, this is probably the greatest time for flexible work schedules of all time in human history is right now in the last 2 years, when so many jobs have had to be more flexible, have gone remote, have given people a lot more time freedom. So I am really wanting you to look for some counterexamples of other types of roles where there might be as much, maybe even more flexibility and still doing work that you love. So I don't think you have to trade time flexibility for fulfilling work. I'm not seeing that those are mutually exclusive at all. In fact, I'm seeing this being more available now, more prevalent, more opportunities than I've ever seen in my 10 years of career coaching.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, it's just this or nothing. Like, you didn't just stumble upon the one job that has flexibility, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that you're so in your situation, you're not, it's understandable. Like, you're not pulling your head up and realizing that you could get your needs met somewhere else. Like, you could check all the boxes somewhere else. And right now you're thinking that in order to get this box checked, I'd have to give up something else. And I don't think that has to be true at all. So, and as long as you believe that, though, as long as you believe I'm not going to be able to spend as much time with my kid in another job, well, then you're just going to stay stuck, because you're going to think, well, I have to just keep doing this because I'm not going to be able to get my needs met anywhere else. No, if you believe that it's possible to get those needs met somewhere else, all of a sudden you just opened up a whole new world of possibilities for yourself.
And even the people in your life, your partner and your therapist, I'm not, who are kind of backing that up and making you feel like that's true, I'm not sure they actually believe that. I think they just have heard your story and are buying into your belief about this. Well, I have this flexibility and I would probably lose it. And they're like, well, if you lose it, then yeah, maybe you have a good thing going. But the whole point here is that
them that you're right, but we're not convinced is what we're saying.
Right. The whole point is that I'm not sure you're right about that in the first place. So even if other people have bought into it, you might just be very convincing with that story.
Yeah, well, you didn't persuade me and Kristen, so sorry, you're not that persuasive.
And I do, you also said, I feel like I don't have a lot of time for teaching myself some new skills to go into a new career.
Do you really need new skills?
Wonder if you need that. And this is, I say this coming from experience. I have had to learn this myself the last few years, thinking if I wanted to get some kind of steady work or some kind of other opportunities, I would have to go learn new skills. As it turns out, I have a lot of great skills already. I have a lot of transferable skills that I wasn't appreciating that people are happy to pay me for. And I feel very sure that's probably true for you too. So I'm not convinced you have to take some big program, go back to school, get some certification to get skills to get you into a job that would be more fulfilling and still have a lot of freedom and flexibility. What I'm sensing is you're missing impact. You're missing connection to the work. You're missing connection to a team and collaboration and people who you feel like you're kind of in the trenches with. Those are all things that are frustrating about your job now. I don't think you need new skills to get those needs met. You just need a new environment. You just need a new team. You need to care more about the work itself. Those are things that you can find.
I would like Alex to question this insidious belief that they can't have all the things that they want. Because it's pretty clear from reading this message that they think that if you get this good thing, then you have to give up this other thing. That there's no such thing as just like having a job as a thriver or a tribe member or combo that just meets your needs, all of them, without having to sacrifice some huge thing. And that is clearly driving, it's like this unconscious driving force behind so much of this problem that, oh, I just can't have I can't have it all. I can't have what I really want. So I have to like take this, but suffer that. But why? Why is it so impossible to believe that you could just have a good job as a thriver and a tribe member that also allows you the degree of flexibility that you have now? This is not impossible. Like in terms of impossible dreams, you did not just name one.
Look, it would be impossible if you said, I would like to be an astronaut and I would also like to work from home.
Oh,
I'd be like, okay, so that's going to be harder.
Funny. You were saying impossible dreams, and I was thinking like, like living on Jupiter or something. We were both thinking space related.
We were having a Krachel moment, mind meld moment. Yeah, I'd be like, okay, so we're gonna have to work that out. I'm not sure how you're going to go to space.
But you could work at NASA
and work at
and
home.
maybe work from home. Do you know what I mean?
If you wanted to be an astronaut, I don't know how you'd be an astronaut.
Are in space though.
So you know what? Maybe even that's not impossible. Maybe I don't know enough about how NASA works, but what you're asking is way, way less impossible than what I just shared, which might even still be possible. So all I'm saying is nothing you asked for is unreasonable here. Work that you care about, collaboration with people that you like, some flexibility in your schedule. That is a reasonable combination of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Raise our bar for what we think is possible and what we expect. Because as long as you expect to have to give up something, no wonder you're annoyed. No wonder you're resentful, because you think that you have to keep accepting something stunningly mediocre or kind of shitty because it's quote unquote not possible to do, to give up the bad things without giving up the good thing that you have going. Mm-hmm. That leads to resentment when you feel trapped like that by your circumstance. Well, you're not trapped because that's not actually the rule, that you have to give up the good thing in order to get, other good things. No, mm-hmm. I don't know who taught you that, but that's not true.
It's not how it works.
So what then, Alex?
One more piece of this that I want to throw out is it sounds like the biggest thing that you want to hold on to is this time with your toddler. And I want to just ask you, how important is the amount of time you have with your toddler versus the quality of time that you have with your toddler? So let's say, again, I don't think you have to give up this time, flexibility, or freedom. I think you will find a lot of options when you open up your perspective to see them. But even if the timing was different and you didn't have quite as much time for your toddler, but you enjoyed your work, when you were with her, you were happy, you were fulfilled, you were energized, you weren't drained, you weren't resentful. If it were fewer hours, but you were happier and more attentive and more present with her, that might still ultimately be better for her and for you than
you'd be a better
more
parent.
Time. Yeah, than having more time with her, but you're stressed and you're exhausted and you're resentful and you're kind of annoyed the whole time. So I do want to throw out there the difference between just amount of time and quality time. And at the end of the day, what I have a feeling you want is that quality time with your toddler.
Yeah. Not all time is created equal.
Yes. Yes. So that might be a factor in this too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that parents have a really hard time, especially moms, I think, have a really hard time like believing that if I step away from my kid, that's a good thing. But I'm sorry, if you're spending all day with your kid, but you're miserable, which I'm not saying you are, Alex, but like just anybody who's spending all day with their kid, but they're miserable, that kid's going to be better off if you spend less time with it, but you're happier. Like 100%, that's going to be better for your kid.
Yeah. There's a lot of parts of parenthood. Part of your responsibility, yes, is just to be there and make sure that they're safe and they're fed and their needs are met. You have to be physically present for a certain amount of time to do that well. But part of being a parent is also modeling healthy behaviors and self-loving behaviors so that they learn by observation. So and this is not just to Alex anymore, this is just in general. If the main thing you're focused on is time with your kids, but you're not so focused on making yourself happy and enjoying your life and going after the things that matter to you, what you're modeling is care for others is the most important thing. Instead of, I want to care for others and care for myself and do the things that I love and build a life that I feel great about. That's a great model to show a kid for them to see what's possible. So taking care of yourself is a really good parenting move from that perspective.
Okay.
As always, we throw the kitchen sink at everything, give them everything, and hope something resonates.
Concuss them with it sometimes.
I hope no one feels concussed, but if you do, know that it was out of love.
Love concussions. All right. Well, that's it for us today. We will be awaiting the people who sat on the fence and decided up until right now that they wanted to talk to us. That's fine. I'm happy with the fence sitters. Like,
that's fine. Deadlines work. They work on us. They work on you. It's a helpful motivator to have to make a decision. So if you wait until the deadline, that's normal. We always expect a few stragglers at the end.
No judgment. Or maybe, just you catching up on the podcast and you just didn't know until right now. That's legit too. Sure. So we will be happy to talk to anyone who still wants to talk to us about one-on-one coaching. And, have a very different, second half of 2022 than you had of the second half of 2022, if you start coaching now, will be very different than how you started. Mm-hmm. That I know. So link in show notes, or you can just go to clarityonfire.com. There's a work with us tab and the one-on-one coaching page is there. Okay. We will be back next Friday with a normal person interview with an Australian. That's not the only thing about her, but that's one thing about her.
Makes it a joy for us Americans to listen to.
I know. We talked about some very intense, what you would call in the tarot tower moments that she had in 2020, and how she recovered from them. And then also how she decided to do her own Eat, Pray, Love journey, but stuck in lockdown, staying at home.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyway, all right. We will be back next Friday with that.
All right. See you then.
Bye.